Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another Propagandacast, another week, which of course means another Monday Novice fight. And this time we're going to be having a look at British startups. We're going to be going right at it. We're going to see Westwick right here fighting for the 11th Armoured Division. Opposing him shall be big shiny head of the Wehrmacht and the 17th Luftwaffe Field Division. And they are going to be quite novices, and in fact, notice right here, what is Westwick going for? He's going for another infantry section. This is not what I'd recommend. You can go it for usually, in fact, much more veteran players, in fact, go for a lieutenant first. Not an infantry section, because lieutenant will be out fast and then can move about fast. Remember, an infantry section without a lieutenant, as soon as he gets out of friendly territory, is going to be moving slow. Second, why is he going for the strategic point? Why not the munitions? Why not the fuel? So many better things to do instead of rushing right into the center and secure one strategic point. Not really good. And of course, no lieutenant on the way. What could poor Westwick be planning? What could he be planning? Of course, no Wehrmacht though. Sort of a more regular thing. Wehrmacht quarters at the edge of the base. He's setting up Vickers machine gun emplacement again. This is the sort of stuff you do not do within a fucking, pardon my language, within a bloody minute, or whatever. I mean, this is humongously bad. This is what you do not do. I repeat, you do not do this. Have I made myself clear? Machine gun emplacements, all sorts of emplacements come later on. They do not come within the first 2 minutes of the game. Never, ever, ever. Ever. I don't care what you're playing, emplacements do not go up that early, in particular not here where they could easily be flanked from either side. That's not really too bloody great either. Really a lot of problems here. It might seem clever, and of course this sort of novice mentality, infantry counters. Oh wait, I have a machine gun. That's going to stop everything. Yes, if they waltz right into it, yes, temporarily, but otherwise, it needs to be part of a larger defense. Currently, it's not. And again, infantry section sort of moving about without a lieutenant. Really delayed. I mean, he barely has anything off the map. He got one fuel point, one strategic point. That's it. The opponent already has a larger part of the map. I mean, this is not good by any length or measure. This is an absolutely slow start and not really how you want to be playing the British at all. I mean, a much more aggressive player could really be doing a lot of damage. Also, you tend to sort of move about the headquarters command track a bit, perhaps secure the fuel point right there, or the munitions. Some, in fact, on Langre go for this point, since it's the only high munitions point, plus, the sort of layout of the map, in fact, here provides a lot of protection. Running straight into an MG42, not really good either. Volsker sneaking up here. Lieutenant moving up, and, why do you attach your lieutenant to the reconnaissance section when you need to attach it to the infantry section? Because that's going to get the greatest boost. It's already tougher and can do more damage than the infantry section, so boost the lieutenant and do even more. And of course, it will be able to move about at proper speed. Not really, again, good. Westwick, again, a good and friendly little novice, but again, he's making a lot of novice mistakes. Bren carry on the way, get moving, Low skates forwards for the Queen and all that. And yes, it is the Jubilee and such, so as opposed to this Monday Novice fight, sort of focusing on that is a bit apt. Bren carrying on the way, though, that's not entirely bad, but again, I mean, focus, get things moving, attach the lieutenant to the right units that actually can benefit the most from it. And so on, and we're seeing a lot of Y here. Excessively lot, in fact. In particular, when you could just be running off this area, he's instead sort of trying to get cordon around here, which doesn't quite make sense. And again, this would be easier, faster. Force of Volksgrenadiers and whatnot moves in. Brenker hanging about, could be upgraded with a Vickers, not really doing well. Let's just beat this up to the 5-minute mark. No point in really continuing this. I mean, again, lots of things here you should not be doing. So, not good, ladies and gentlemen. We saw really things you should not be doing. The cardinal mistakes of the British already here. So let's move on to the next. Right, and we're back with the next match, this time with some much more higher ranking players. We're seeing I Need Comedy Vs 2 again versus Rangeroo 7. And we're in fact seeing the exact same starting spot, but he's also going for an infantry section start. But again, he's probably going to do it a bit more brightly than our other fellow here, Westwick. I'm not saying you can't go for an infantry section as a second unit out, but I mean, the way Westwick handled it left a lot to be desired, to put it mildly. And of course, again, Wehrmacht quarters going up. In this case, I need Communist 2 working swiftly, hardly, to quickly set it up for the Wehrmacht, for the glory of the Third Reich. There we go, infantry sectioning up. Interesting enough, he's not packing up the truck as of yet. What could it, but there we go, truck packing up. Usually you see some players actually sort of queue it up so it happens right away. And he's probably only doing this because, again, fuel point right there. And again, I wager, intending to secure this point with the headquarters commander. Again, not unusual to see on this, southern Langre with a British player right there, and it's certainly not really fun for Wehrmacht players to fight against, certainly not Panzer League players as well, because it's then also not uncommon to see a mortar emplacement right here which can cover a large part of the map. So headquarters command truck moving up, bike on the way, probably hoping to spot any British here. Fuel point secured. And again, note without a lieutenant, they move pretty damn slowly. That's very important to remember about the British. They are much slower, much more determined force, but again, they need supervision for their troops, otherwise they don't feel quite as motivated as you say your average Volksgrenadier even. But again, they also pack quite a punch. They can take much more of a punch. And of course, with emplacements, they can also really, hold some ground nicely if, again, you use it properly. And interesting enough, he's going for the 3rd infantry section. Still not a lieutenant. Definitely not what you usually see from British players. Certainly not how I play them, but that doesn't mean it's, not usable. But of course, now again, it's within friendly territories. You can move about quicker. Could he be going for a reconnaissance section sort of thing with 3 of them? Apparently not. We are seeing the Wehrmacht swiftly moving about, securing points. MG42 bike sort of scouting. Of course, noting, oh right, headquarters command truck right there, filled with British pigs that needs to be killed. There we go, 3rd section. Again, he is holding this munition point. He's getting quite a bit out of it. Fuel points being secured, bike being pushed off. And there we go, the lieutenant. No, that's a Bren carrier. Again, a rather unorthodox for a Brit, I must say. But again, there might be some punishment into this if he's not careful. Clearly, again, not what I'd recommend. I mean, it's certainly a bit slow and it doesn't quite give you this sort of ability to really attack. And there we go, running into an MG fire. And of course, since he doesn't have a sort of speedy section, he can't hit the flank quickly of that MG42. That's really causing him some problems. And of course, it's also giving I need Communist 2 more time to react. So in this sense, it's a rather good, again, display of why you want lieutenants for troops. Because again, when you're then moving into hostile territory, it gives your opponent much more time to actually react to what's going on. Renke arrive, 50 Vickers already on the way. Another MG42. I need Communist 2, in fact, knocking down, and this won't be a much longer one either. Just because it's much higher rank doesn't mean it can't be short. In particular, if some Brit player tries out something odd. But there we go, hitting the MG42 from the flank. Again, running right into the MG42. Bren tearing through this crew. In fact, forcing it away, and that's allowing the scout squad to move up. Probably hit the flank. Another Bren carrier on the way. That's quite peculiar. MG42 turns about. MG42 right there is in a slightly perilous position. Taking losses. Bike getting fired at. Pioneers moving into flank. Infantry section moving in as well. We're seeing a sniper. We're seeing another MG42. Interesting on all of how I need Communist 2 decides to counter this. Definitely not looking good now all of a sudden, because again, the lack of movement makes it much easier again for the opponent to react. Second Bren here on the way. MG42 could be going down, but so could the Bren carrier to the bike. Yes, indeed. An absolute massacre. And that's rather why you get a lieutenant for starters. But again, we saw at least a slightly more energetic start than we with Swick. Slightly more competent, but clearly not without its issues either. And sort of note how the Bren carrier is quickly getting ganged up on. Hit from all sides. Bikes down. Another infantry section down to sniper fire. Bridge moving out again. We are finally seeing a lieutenant after, 5 minutes. That's way too long for a lieutenant to actually appear. And now looks like another Bren carrier will be going down.
Reports a vehicle has been destroyed.
So again, this sort of, well, this is not how you do it thing. Moving on to the next fight. They're going to be seeing Saul Fleetfoot versus Don't Shoot. Oh, please don't shoot. Clearly this is a bit of a nasty surprise for Fleetfoot, but again, let's see what happens. What shall these two chaps be going out for? And we are going again the infantry section out second. Quite surprisingly, I'm getting used to sort of seeing lieutenants out first, but clearly this is the day where I'm to be proven wrong constantly. Clearly not very happy about that. He's really upset about getting Don't Shoot, who is a high-ranking player. Again, I will be sort of showing the high rank because, well, does provide a bit better context for showing the British, as they can be a very hard to understand force for the novice players. Again, you need to be sort of aggressive, but it's sort of a different aggressive. It's not American aggressive, it's not Panzer aggressive, it's not even quite Wehrmacht aggressive. It's a different sort of aggressive, and again, you need to be aggressive with all forces, but there's also other factors sort of combine in. For example, again, the lack of motivation from your troops for starters, which did actually happen in the war. There really were some problems with the lack of NCOs and motivation. But there we go, of course, going straight for the fuel point. In this case, of course, our British friend here is clearly expecting to sort of rush for some armor, perhaps a Stuart or two, perhaps not. Points being secured. But again, I would have recommended a lieutenant, has the fast ability to take points. And we are seeing barbed wire going down and tank traps. Tank traps, why do you ask? Because then the British player can't crash through it with a Bren carrier. So that's why players, tend to sort of mix up wire and tank traps. And there we go, point secure just before the Pioneers arrive to sort of harass and make things terrible for that headquarters command track. Getting a Bren carry out second. Definitely a bit peculiar. And there we go, fresh tank traps going down. Dragon's Teeth, as they were known. There was also the other one, the one known as the Czech Hedgehog. We are, of course, seeing this intersection continuing right over in the east. Fuel being secured, currently fuel also being the only thing actually bloody well connected. Which is definitely not really looking good right here for Fleetfoot. And we, of course, seeing the 5 or 4 Pioneers start from Don't Shoot. Again, not unusual to see in certainly the higher modes of play. And again, usually, you see this sort of strategy is, get a lieutenant, get an infantry section, getting Bren carry out, and then start hunting some Jerrys. And early on, without the sort of thickest machine gun, the Bren carrier is going to be a bit limited in effectiveness. But apparently, Fleetfoot has something in mind. At least he's getting to that high munitions point. Bren carrier moving in against the Pioneers. Bren gun not doing too much damage.
Seizing territory from us.
And Jerry's already pushing hard for the fuel point, although again they're not quite connected. This point has not been secured. But there we go, Lieutenant on the way. Pioneers sort of trying to get away.
Jerry's cut forward supply lines.
Bit problematic for Fleetfoot. But again, it does matter sort of where you place your truck in the beginning, and it really can mean, do you want to sort of focus on your infantry, then put it up on munitions point, get some upgrades, some really good upgrades, or if you want some vehicles fast, like say a fleet command support truck, for example, again, go for a fuel point, get some captains out, or get the captain out, then get the steward out, and punish your enemy that way. Pioneers getting pushed away, but I can already note, this is rather what you sort of have to expect a lot as the British, as that's rather what a lot of Wehrmacht players favour. So again, they will rush pretty quickly for the Kriegbergs as soon as they can, so of course you have to be prepared. You might even see a half-track, in which case, you know, having the Brenko upgraded tends to be a pretty good idea. Of course, question is, what will Fleetfoot do? He might be going for this cutoff point. That would not be a bad idea. Would certainly deny a lot of territory, fuel and population to the Jerry opponent. Of course, going for the Kampfkraft Center, thus gets a veterancy for his grenadiers. Field support truck arrives, probably will be going for this point. Points being secured, decapped. Kampfkraft Center almost up. And the name of the Reich. And again, I mean, that is what some players do. You know, they actually pop the lieutenant in the Bren carrier. He still has the command radius, so it sort of becomes a command Bren, if you will. Plus, it can also be used to take points much more safely. But going for the cutoff point, not a bad idea. But and there we go. First unit out is a half-tank equipped with a machine gun because, well, most British troops actually can't damage it. It's a rather interesting thing for some reason. So you actually need something with bigger guns to actually be able to damage that half-track.
Trying to take a second.
So there we go. Half-track moving in. Going to be causing quite a problem for Fleetfoot because he doesn't have any sort of means for dealing with it.
Supply lines are broken. We have territory.
Looks like he's trying to snipe, and there we go. He's actually buttoning it up. But again, I mean, problem with the half-track, your rifles really won't do much damage. It was better off if you would get a Vickers for it. A Vickers and some armor-piercing rounds. That way will really quickly tear through an infantry, a German half-track. And yeah, there we go. The Grenadier out for the 17th Luftwaffe again, Field Division, or Felddivision. Composed of spare Luftwaffe personnel, formed into divisions. They rarely did well. Weren't always quite well trained even. They had some equipment. They, for example, had their own assault guns, I believe, and such, but I mean, in terms of, you know, actual training, they were not very well off, nor were their NCOs. So clearly here we are seeing them pushing on pretty hard against the Brits. And he's actually cancelling the Vickers. Oh right, he's trying to get some sappers out with Piers, and that way he's going to be using this as sort of a tank hunter vehicle, I suppose. With Piets and the Bren carrier firing away madly. It's a tactic that some British players actually like to use. Wouldn't recommend against it, but I mean, it certainly also has its flaws, because what happens if the Bren carrier goes up in flames pretty quickly. But it certainly can hunt down things like a half-track much easier.
Jerry's cut forward supply lines.
Pack on the way. No captains yet. There we go. Piets ready. Move them. Move them. Come on, gents. Get those Huns. There we go. Going half-track hunting the Australian way, and they've of course also the combination with the Bren carrier, allowing it to actually button down the vehicle and then move it close with the Piats. Very nasty little combination, that all in one vehicle. Trying to get it. Oh dear, pack goes up, damaged engine, will they get it? Come on, gents. It's a half-track. No, looks like the half-track gets away. Still, the line is being pushed back, but oh dear, a bit unfortunate right there. The Hun one out there.
Munitions depot is being
half-track quickly getting repaired. Troops moving about. Points being secured. Oh, cheeky that. He's actually laying down tank traps, right? He's sort of trying to block in any reinforcements, but I mean, note, trucks actually gain a bonus to prevent that, so they can actually crush right out of the egg zone. And of course, the only other thing that could come off map is either a priest or Churchills, and Churchills can also crush that. So in that sense, not quite as great. A large Hun assault moving in, lots of grenadiers, half-track moving up as well. But also pretty ensconced British position. Retreating slightly though. Largely, in fact, all of a sudden. Captain on the way, that's good. Recon section moving in. Lots of tank traps, that's... Or he might be trying to actually sort of trap the British player within his base. There we go. Stuart light tank on the way. Huns moving in against the base. Pioneers clearing the way with mines afterwards to ensure the British cannot come back. Clearly not doing too well in the face of this. There clearly were some mistakes made. Again, sort of, infantry action right off the bat again. You need to be aggressive. You need to be able to take as much territory. And again, the lieutenant sort of is necessary for that. Moving in, though. Grenadiers holding up. Nice use of heavy cover right there by the Germans. Grenades getting lobbed. Grenadier down. Steward ready. Good canister shot can do a lot. Half-tech moving about in the east.
Radio up here, go ahead.
And now Bart Wide to ensure the cover doesn't fall into the hands of the Tommies. Grenadier squad pushed away. Steward moves in. Pack retreats pretty quickly. Could be very nasty if he catches that pack, but I don't think that is within the purview of Fleetfoot. But, I mean, there we go. Again, we saw a different start. Clearly not one of the stronger British starts. Again, has a rather slow expansion rate. And again, the lack of a Vickers right on really sort of limited his capability to stop that half-track. But let's move on to the next one. And here we go, the next matchup. Again, I need Company Views 2 versus the Great Iron Roman. I think this fellow has a bit more of a complex right there. But do note, this is the sort of start I talk about being the most effective against a Pioneer Heavy 1. Get a lieutenant out, truck packing up, have that all ready for when it happens. And of course on moi, I mean, then it's pretty much easier where to pack it up and place it, right next to your base. Medium fuel point, and you can also usually place it within the arc of a machine gun emplacement, ensuring you can't get rushed. Because again, that can be a problem, placing your truck too far ahead and actually leaving your base exposed to, say, being rushed by infantry half-tracks or an MG42 and, getting pinned down in your base. That's a bit of a problem, but again, note, Lieutenant moving out is going to be probably securing this area, and then later on link up with a infantry section. Pioneers pushing on pretty aggressively. th Luftwaffe and 11th Armored still holding out, although again this is largely the infantry of the 11th Armored. Also note right here, little attempt by any Company Hifs 2 to sort of, pen in the British player. I mean, using barbed wire against British early on is a trick some players like to do at choke punch, because again, the British don't really have much to deal with barbed wire except the Bren carrier early on.
German unit destroyed.
Moving on, though, but we are seeing the Pioneers moving in again to sort of try and be nasty, but of course it also serves another effect, because it also ensures that Great Iron Roman does move away too far, because he needs to constantly ensure he doesn't get wired in right there. I mean, things like that can matter. But already securing a large part of the map. In fact, looks like he's not just gone for 4 Pioneers, but 5 Pioneers. And again, moving into wire off, we are seeing a Lieutenant moving in, Lieutenant Jackson. Opening up on the Jerrys, on the Hun. Also note, your troops are much easier to hit and damage while they're laying down wire. Of course, they weren't able to finish it off, so this can be cleared out. In fact, the Pioneer almost went down. Infrasection going in for the fuel, sort of, trying to deny the Jerrys that. Again, not a bad idea as the Allies to sort of try and deny the Germans as much fuel as possible. And we are seeing a Bren carrier on the way, not unusual. And again, in this way, you also ensure you have enough munitions at the same time to about as soon as it arrives from the field to get a Vickers machine. No, he's getting another infantry section. That's quite interesting. Wonder what caused that idea. But again, it's a more aggressive one. It sort of allows more sort of early capturing of territory, a bit more flexible. I mean, generally you want to be as flexible and maneuverable as possible, and certainly this start actually allows that. So again, this is generally what I'd recommend as the best start, at least for novices. Pioneers coming under heavy fire, and we are ready again. And note how even fast he does this, and don't shoot within the 3-minute mark. He's actually going up with a Krieg barracks. Again, pretty early on, pretty damn aggressive. Moving into the center, he might want to go here for the cutoff point and sort of, to try to deny the Jerry's the fuel and all the resources here again. And that's certainly one of the things you can try and do, when fighting against a Pioneer heavy start. They can't really so well hold points. I mean, Pioneers are not exactly defensive infantry. So in that sense, I mean, going for this point, for example, trying to hold it, could work, could really deny a lot of territory to the Hun, but clearly the great, in quotation marks, the great Iron Roman is not doing so. In fact, he's digging in and securing 1 point, so at least he can deny the munitions. Not entirely sure why. Again, this could have worked better, I think. Much better, in fact. Field support truck, though, on the way. Definitely got a lot of munitions for that. Again, very interesting why he has that infantry section hiding in the trench. Kampfkraft sent up. Of course, Grenadiers arriving from the 17th. Probably the more veteran, the ones that actually sort of learned something. Again, the Luftwaffe field divisions were a bit of a mixed bunch. Created by the vanity of Göring, who didn't want to hand over his troops. Was meant to the army, so of course he was allowed to create his own divisions. Besides the Hermann Göring one, which was sort of an elite panzer division. He also created the Luftwaffe divisions, which were sort of infantry divisions, but again, not necessarily highly equipped in some divisions. They had a mix of, I believe, Russian, French and other equipment as well, at least in terms of artillery. They did have some assault guns and such, but not a lot.
Jerry's cut forward supply lines.
Fuel point secured right there. Lieutenant moving about, securing what's behind the lines. Charging in against the Pioneers, although of course taking up position right here could protect. Again, note, submachine guns do very little damage against troops in buildings, so in this case this is a great move. Going to do some damage to these Pioneers. Grenadiers moving in against the infantry section. Second Grenadier squad moving up. Infantry section pulling into the church to hear the Lord's Prayer and find strength. And the fortress, but they're definitely going to be needing aid very soon, otherwise they're going to be down pretty quickly to these 8 Grenadiers camping outside the church. And they're clearly not here for the sermons. Pioneers moving about, securing a lot of territory. Infantry sections moving in, trying to hunt down again. He's trying to wire off this area again, very aggressive from I-Need coming over to. Pioneers going down left and right, and again barbed wire. But we are seeing a captain out and a steward on the way. That's good. In particular, if we get off a good cancer shot against all these troops. Oh dear, he's completely cut off this area, ensuring a much longer retreat. And of course, no direct movement from here to there right away. But again, Stuart can fix that. And again, cancer shot right here. Excellent. I really would recommend the Stuart, even just for its cancer shot. But even then, it's actually pretty accurate against German infantry. Now the infantry section is the one to bleed as the Grenadiers move in. Doing quite a bit of damage. Tearing through the reconnaissance sections. And there we go, Stuart light tank has arrived. For a bit of recce, for a bit of Jerry hunting. Oh dear, there we go, tank traps going up. But again, it can be a bit more difficult to actually tank traps this area off. Because, well, it's a bit harder to sort of get here and there. So it can sort of move about the barricades. Though of course you can get a sapper section, then get him some demo quips and demo kits, and then blow away. But there we go. Pioneers coming under heavy fire and already forced away. Tank trap's not going to be proving that much of a problem, but no. Still moving on. He could clear the way for the infantry. In fact, crush the wire.
Stay alert, lads.
He's moving the truck. Why is he doing that? Why is he moving the truck? Oh, he might be trying to crush the wire, but again, he's also losing resources for this. So not entirely sure why, or if there's any benefit to it, but there you go. Clearing the way with a Bedford truck, and not how you usually do it. Grenadier squad hiding in the church with a Panzerschreck. Oh dear, nasty hit on the Stuart, but of course note the Stuart does take less damage from Panzerschrecks. Small benefit given to them in the last patch, one of the later patches. Truck moving back, but again, breakthrough here in the east. Right. Oh, yes. Get that Stuart back. Get it repaired. Sappers ready. Perhaps a repair kit would be a good idea. We're seeing a much larger Grenadier force moving up with a half-track in tow. Infantry section still hiding in the trench. And there we go, the half-track rushes in. Not entirely sure where they keep getting those. They were an infantry division, probably a Jaeger division, in fact, if I'm not mistaken. Probably Jaeger assault division. Half-track rushing in, although could fall prey to the mighty Stuart. In fact, he's getting a second Stuart. That's definitely a nice little idea. Can really do a lot of damage with Grenadiers then. Definitely what I tend to use against the Grenadier heavy strand. You get several Stuarts and start blasting through them. I suspect these sappers, no, they're getting peanuts actually. Quite interesting. I might have wagered expert repair kits. Grenadiers moving in.
NCOs reporting they have destroyed a German target.
It looks like someone went down. Grenadiers moving in. Already veterans here too, though. Piet's firing, and there we go. Stuart's arriving. All these Grenadiers are coming under heavy fire from the trench. Pioneers under heavy fire. A small barrage from the Stuarts.
Our supply lines are being threatened.
Playing a bit cautiously there, though. A bit too cautiously, perhaps. There we go, moving out. Infantry moving in, trying to hunt down the Grenadiers. Hiding in the house. But already there, taking losses to the Stuarts. Firing away with the 37mm guns, and there we go, pouncing upon the half-track. Could even be caught by the sappers. Heavy damage, more Panzerx moving in, firing from a small entrenched trench position between the buildings. Creates a nice little kill zone, in fact. But let's stop here. I mean, again, you saw one more British site, probably one of the better ones, definitely. I mean, lots of Stuart, lots of infantry, a much more aggressive start, more able to keep up pressure, although, again, certainly a few mistakes here against the Wehrmacht commander who really did a lot to sort of foil it. So, in fact, let's just say that was that. I mean, I'm a bit tired, exams and all that. But overall, I mean, you saw some things that really didn't work, some that sort of worked, and then this one which, you know, actually worked. Of course, I mean, it's just a sort of an idea of what, you know, what you can do with British beginnings, British startups, and certainly I'll be doing more videos with the British. Also for some against the Panzer, I might even expand, you know, again with some British versus Wehrmacht. That will be later next week. I hope to be doing with Panzer, but there you go. Do hope you enjoyed this. If you did, why not subscribe and tell your friends? And if you didn't, well, why not send in a replay of your own or tell your friends? And of course, look forward to some current affairs 2 news this week. This is E3 week, so there should be something in particular since yeah. Cheers.